Four in the key.
Welcome back, everybody. Coming to you live from our bedrooms. Got the starting lineup as always. Let me give it to you. Point guard Grant Smith from Oregon. Shooting guard, handsome as ever, Dylan Altman. And our leading center, Jackson Muniz. I'm Dara Shagan, your host, and let's get right into it. So, biggest talk of the season so far, I think we can all agree, the James Harden trade to Brooklyn. The Pacers were involved in that trade. The Rockets were involved in that trade. Brooklyn was involved in that trade. And we saw Karis LeVert go to Indiana. We saw Oladipo go to the Rockets. And the big three, I think, in my opinion, the most talented big three ever has been assembled. So let me get your guys' thoughts on it. What do you think they've shown you so far? And are you buying into the fact that the Nets just became the favorites in the East with that move?
Well, before Cleveland also somehow just got Jared Allen for a second-round pick. That kind of went under the radar because they now have 58 centers on the roster. They had to release Thon Maker, so I can't support them anymore. But with Brooklyn, they sacrificed depth for star power, as we saw with the trade. Kyrie, Harden, and Durant have only played a few games together now, but they've been playing an absurd amount of minutes together in those games, about high 30s per game. And they're all performing, but DeAndre Jordan is not a quality center anymore in the NBA. He's not a starting caliber center. Jared Allen, that void is already being seen. Their fourth option is Jeff Green, Landry Shamet, a guy who a year ago was in a rotation for a contender, doesn't even get minutes anymore. Injury to Dinwiddie really hurt them. So they just have three elite scorers and talents with nothing else. And they're playing a lot of close games against teams that you would think they blow out on paper. So I was wondering what your guys' thoughts was on like what adjustments they could make and what tweaks they'd be able to do with their roster, considering they don't have control of their own first-round pick for the next 8 years.
I don't know. This was an interesting move, and I think when it first happened, I think I was telling Grant that I think that the Milwaukee Bucks are an absolute mismatch for them in every single part of any basketball mind ever. I think, like you said, there's only three guys that can just score at will. And that's great. And I think that they can put up 80 a night, but they're going to have to put up like 90 a night in the playoffs for it really to work. But the shots that are being distributed between those three players, you're taking the ball away from elite three-point shooters like Harris. And like you said, DJ is just he's not an elite center anymore. So you're just, I don't know, you have like a starting five and then you have no depth outside of like Hefe Green. And it's a tough spot. And I think if you're going to get that concoction of personalities and talents, you really need like a Zen master, like a Phil Jackson type of coach that can really reel that in. Steve Nash, Amadi Stoudemire, and D'Antoni, I don't think that would ever work on any platform as a whole. So from the start, I wasn't sold on the coaching staff, and now with those three guys playing not really a lot of defense, it's a tough situation. Their numbers are going to look great, but it's just I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah, I think the jury's still out on it, and it's only been a few games. And when you have those three kind of caliber players that are all used to having the ball, I think there's going to be adjustment period, obviously. I think they would have been better off without James Harden. I think the ball would have been moving a lot more freely. Like Dylan said, they would have been getting a lot more three-pointers of the more low-key guys. But we'll see. It's only been a few games again, and it's a long season. When you have Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, I think they'll find a way to figure it out. For me, the big winner was the Rockets. I mean, everyone in the entire world knew James Harden was going to leave. They had no leverage. And they were still able to get Oladipo 4 first-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps.
Yeah, they got 3 firsts and 4 swaps. They got
that's a
back.
pretty big haul considering they had zero leverage at all. So the big winner for me was Houston out of that trade. Good for them.
Yeah, I think in terms of adjustments, when I first saw this team on paper, I thought 3 elite talents, Joe Harris, and I thought immediate firepower. This team's going to be scoring, and that's the way they're going to win the games. But honestly, the more that I think about it, I think that if they grind out games, slow down the offense, just allow Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant to break teams down in the half court, I think that that will make them play less time on defense, which they obviously don't know how to do, and not get into battles with teams like the Hawks in the 130s and 140s. And so I think that the more they slow down the tempo and kind of give those guys those, because it's for the first time giving a guy an ISO opportunity seems like just the normal option for an offense. And so I think that if they bring it to the half court and kind of grind out the shot clock, take each possession, make each possession super valuable, and spend a lot less time on defense. Even in transition, they aren't good in transition on D, and nor are they in half court defensive settings. So, just talking, that will bring us to another
Real quick,
Eastern
I
Conference.
just want to add, like, this is the second time in a decade they've mortgaged their entire future. Mind you, it's not for old, washed up guys, but they have no assets to go add to this team. So I think the biggest issue, like, I think their only solution is the buyout market. They have to hope and pray that Andre Drummond somehow just gets bought out and you get him for free. But, like everyone said, it's an interesting concoction that we've only seen a few games of, but it's not looking like a sustainable formula.
Yeah. So speaking of Eastern Conference teams that don't play any defense, can we please find a way to get Bradley Beal out of hell?
It's that situation's just really bad. They gave John Wall all that money, so they swapped it with another aging point guard who has dwindling levels of athleticism that has a massive contract. They've had injury problems. Thomas Bryant got hurt, etc. They've had COVID issues. But Robin Lopez was their second leading scorer in their last game. Actually, third. Garrison Matthews, I think, had 15. Beal put up 47 and lost. 10 straight 40-point games that they've lost. They're 3-11. He just needs to get out of there. And I think an interesting team is New Orleans. They've got assets. They got a good amount of assets. They got 2 firsts and 2 swaps for Drew Holiday. They did give up a pick to get Steven Adams back, but they got a good amount of picks. And they also have a young guy on expiring rookie contract, didn't agree to an extension, Lonzo Ball. They can package Lonzo. They can give up Bledsoe also to match salaries, and another young guy in Jackson Hayes. You get back Beal. They throw in Jerome Robinson. And then I'd say 2 to 3 firsts along with some swaps because of the Stepien rule. And Bradley Beal's got himself a home, and then New Orleans can try and fix their early season woes by adding a guy like Beal to give you 30 a night.
Yeah, the Beal thing, I think I said it last episode, was how the heck are you losing a game averaging 35 points? Like I think you put up 60 and they lost. So he's averaging above like all-star numbers and they're losing every game, and it feels bad. But I think one place I could see him going to, which is like a similar situation to the Celtics where they need like that one piece and it could push them over the top, and that could be the team to beat. It could be the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are looking for a consistent scorer that is going to show up every single night and is going to produce with Jokic passing him the ball. He's always going to be there. And imagine if Bradley Beal went to the Nuggets for like Porter Harris, Bol and a first. I don't know if that'd be the best package for the Wizards, but adding Beal into that mix of those guys and then having Murray at the 1, Morris off the bench with JaMychal Green, that's a powerhouse team. That's the team that could really do damage in the West and potentially could be one of the best teams in the West. And that's definitely a contender that Beal I don't see him not wanting to go to.
The Nuggets still suck.
Yeah, they do suck.
I hate the Nuggets.
JaMychal Green is one of the best players in the NBA.
Couldn't agree more.
That's all I needed.
I'd like to see Beal go to another Western Conference team. I'd love to see him in Dallas because you pair him with Luka and Porzingis. I mean, that matches up pretty well with the big 3 in Brooklyn, in my opinion. Maybe not as talented right now, but definitely a younger group of guys that can continue to develop and get better. And Beal, obviously, we know he can do shooting the ball. And I think Dallas could really use someone else that can shoot the 3 ball pretty well. And he'll be able to stretch the floor, obviously. I don't know how the financials would work, but maybe trade Richardson and Johnson, a few picks in there as well. I don't know if they're even interested in going after Beal, but I would just love to see what they would be able to do adding him to that team. And I would think they'd be top 4 team in the West, be able to contend with the Lakers and the Clippers if they were able to add Beal.
Yeah. I mean, Beal on all 3 of those teams, they seem like offensive juggernauts when you put him in the picture. But the one team that was in the race for Harden that most people thought that they were going to get him was the Sixers. And I think the 76ers are in perfect position to get Bradley Beal. You look at their contracts, you have 3 30-plus mil contracts in Harris, Embiid, and Simmons. Beal is only making 28, 30, 35 mil over the next 3 seasons, respectively. So if you can match Beal's contract with Harris, and along with that, you have expiring contracts of Danny Green. You have a very friendly contract, it looks like now, with Seth Curry only averaging about $8-9 million a year. And then you got some young guys you can throw at the Wizards if they want to go for that route with Thibault and Maxey, which the 76ers are really high on. And I think Beal, Simmons, and Embiid, after seeing what the 76ers did to the Lakers, I think, and after seeing what they've done over a span of about 20 games so far, they are legit, and that's without Bradley Beal. So I can only imagine what Bradley Beal would do in expanding that offense, and with keeping Simmons and Embiid, that would be ideal. I don't think it's worth giving up Simmons or Embiid in return for Beal, but I definitely do think the 76ers have enough assets, and they're pretty flexible in the fact that they can match Bradley Beal's contract with Harris's right there, who's not too old and he's not having a bad season, along with a couple guys like Maxey and Shake Milton. There's no reason that probably wouldn't be the best package that could be in return, disregarding all the packages that would be with first round picks.
Yeah, I mean the Wizards. I mean they're a team. I mean we've seen it. Like they've for most of the decade were like perennial playoff contenders, but at a certain point you just have to realize your time's up. The window's long gone. There's no problem with blowing it up. You see what Houston did. They went from a mid-lane Western Conference team, like second round exit, to a team with a lot of assets. They had no assets, and they fully replenished all of their assets. They've got a good young player in Wood on a great contract. That's the move. You have to do that. You're not contending. Replenish the asset pool, move on, shoot for a new window. There's no problem doing it, and it's the Wizards' time.
Now that you mentioned the Rockets, what do you guys think of the Rockets even now going for Beal after replenishing all that? I know that they have Oladipo and I know they have Wall, but
And Boogie.
and yeah, but Boogie's not making a lot of money. Christian Wood's not making a lot of money, but John Wall, Oladipo are making big money. If they can find a way to ship those first round picks and that they got, and maybe just send Oladipo to the Wizards. Sorry, short stop for you, Victor. I think pairing John Wall back up with Bradley Beal is a much more viable option than having Oladipo and a couple first round picks that you don't know how high they're going to be and if they pan out or not.
The question is if they contend with that team or not. That's the big question. I think Houston, this team's kind of fun. I've always not enjoyed watching Houston play, but this team's pretty fun. Obviously, they're not a playoff team, but they're fun. I don't know if they do that, especially with Daryl Morey out of the picture. I feel like if he was there, you don't put anything out. He traded his center, played PJ Tucker at center. He'll do anything. But I don't know if they go and do that. But thinking about that roster, Walls looked better. He's looking good again. And then you got Wood, Beal. That'd be interesting. But I don't know if they go do that.
I don't know if it works because I think the whole thing with getting rid of Harden and something that they're trying to get away from is it was a whole culture switch. You try not to be dependent on that star power that you've had that's had control of your team for however long, and now they're starting to have players that are actually buying in. That's the thing is you don't know if Beal's going to buy into a system with a guy that he's already played with for a bunch of years and it didn't work, and the new you're going to have to. For Beal to want to buy into a team, I think it's going to have to be someone who's seriously contending. And so if he's not bought in, you're just stuck in the same situation you were with Harden, a guy that can put up a ridiculous amount of points on a ridiculous amount of shots.
Yeah. And with Harden being the biggest surprise of the season and many more to come, that brings us to our most disappointing teams and our most surprising team segment. So I wanted to get a gist from you guys. Who are your most surprising teams? Who have you or did not expect that were going to play this well? And who made the biggest strides? And also, who did you really think that were just clear cut, have everything figured out even through all of COVID, but now they just seem like another borderline playoff team?
You want the my biggest surprise or biggest disappointment so far?
Either.
I'll start with my big disappointment because I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier with the Dallas, and they finally got Porzingis back. They're 8-10, and they're only like 2 games out of the 5th seed because the West is like the 3 top teams, and then everyone else is just right there. So they're not doing that bad. I think it's more of a slow start than anything. They're only 3-6 since getting Porzingis back. They could be doing better, but again, with the whole getting Bradley Beal thing, they have not been shooting the 3 ball well at all. They have Luka shooting 28%, Kristaps is shooting 29% from 3, and then you got Richardson and Finney Smith both shooting about 5 threes per game, and they're both right around 30% as well. So I mean, well below average 3-point shooting team. I don't know if it's just a short sample or if it's a sign of things that come. But if they can start shooting the ball better from deep, I think they'll be able to turn around pretty quickly. But still, it's disappointing. I think they had a lot of hype coming in the season, and to be only 8-10 right now is they should be doing better than that.
I'll go into my disappointing team as well. I'm going to go with the Suns, and it's not necessarily that this is like, wow, they're doing so bad. I mean, they're 9-8 now after just beating the Warriors in pretty convincing fashion. But for a team, when I looked at them coming in, and I went, wow, this is OKC from last year, who finished in, I think it was 5th or 6th, but with better talent. I thought that this was a top 4, 5, 4, 3, somewhere in there, somewhere in the mix. And it just hasn't been that. They've been in 12 games of single-digit points, which is a sign of something that I usually get out of a younger team that just can't finish off games in the 4th quarter. It's something that lacks. There's somewhere in there that everything gets jumbled up, and bringing in CP3 was supposed to fix that. This Suns problem where they have this great start and then they slowly dwindle out into the abyss. And I know that they've had their COVID issues and all that, but there's just a couple of things that I think that they need to improve on. I think the first one is getting Ayton more involved. I don't think that you have a dominant center like that and you don't use him to his capabilities. I think with a team like that, and they're kind of stuck in this identity crisis of like, should we be this 3-point shooting team like the rest of the league is kind of pushing towards, or should we play more defense and be really defensive minded like the Thunder were last year where they grinded out games? And I think that they need to go more towards the grit and grind aspect of it. Let Ayton and Booker beat teams and let CP3 just distribute the ball. I think if they can figure those 3 things out, they really can still be in the top 4 discussion in the West.
Yeah, my most disappointing team who just fell 6-12 to the Nicholas Batum-led Clippers is the Miami Heat. We saw Jimmy came off with a slow start, and then he had to deal with COVID. He looks really skinny. I hope everything's okay with him. He's lost 12 pounds this week, supposedly. Yeah, Hero, I believe he missed some time with the neck injury. But a team coming off a finals berth, you would expect them not to be this bad, regardless of how many people have fallen down. I think Jay Crowder is a big hit. I mean, he started for them in the finals last year, and now he's gone, obviously. And then you're starting Kelly Olynyk. That's a completely different playing style. You go from a 6'6" wing 3-and-D guy to 6'11" modern day Bill Walton. No disrespect, Bill Walton's a legend, but they look the same. Bam's taken another step from what I've seen. I mean, he's looked really good this year. He's starting to get more confidence taking his jumpers. I think in a few years, I wouldn't be surprised to see him taking a few threes a game. But I think we need to see, when Jimmy comes back, I'm going to give him a good week or two to fully get back into a rhythm because he's been out for a while. He didn't look great to start the season. Again, had a 2-month rest period before coming right back into the season. Those city jerseys are also atrocious. That could be a decent, explanation. But I'm going to give him more time. But again, Hero hasn't looked great. I mean, you got Duncan. He's cool. I like Duncan. But
Future Spur.
Future Spur.
Mm-hmm.
Free agent next year.
Mm-hmm.
He does fit the mold.
He absolutely fits the mold.
Mm-hmm. And they have.
You guys should get Kelly Olynyk too. That'd be cool.
He fits the mold too in a weird way
as
as well.
You know who else fits the mold? Myers Leonard.
Wow.
I'll
Weird
stick
mold.
with Duncan. Sorry.
But yeah, Miami's just been weird. I would give them more time. I don't think they're a championship team, but I'll give them more time. What do you got, Dar?
Well, similar to Jackson, my most disappointing team this season is in the bottom half of the Western Conference, and that's the Pelicans. On paper, Lonzo Ball, Eric Bledsoe, J.J. Redick, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Steven Adams. I mean, that has the makings to be a 7 or 8 seed in the Western Conference and even the top half in the Eastern Conference. But maybe that's a little outlandish. But their depth being so young, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jackson Hayes, and they have a Nico Melli, I believe his name is.
Josh Hart.
Even Josh Hart, they're really deep. They're 9 guys deep, I think, and they should not be losing the games that they are. And when they are, it looks really bad. They look lost, and they should have some interior presence with Steven Adams and Zion. But I think that they really need to either ship JJ Redick and Lonzo and really kind of do a quick adjustment to that team. But keeping Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson as your 2 core stars is essential to that team's success in the future. And if they can maybe get Lonzo to a contending team and get some assets in return, kind of rebuild that again, I think they could be on the rise. And also to go up on that, most surprising teams, for me, Grant, you called it, the Cleveland Cavaliers are not the worst team in the NBA. Sexland is for real.
Oh, yeah.
Andre Drummond is an all-star center. And they have some good pieces like Cedi Osman. I know Kevin Love's been hurt all year, but they've been showing flashes of one of those Eastern Conference teams that loses 4-1 to Milwaukee in the first round of the playoffs, something like that. And I think that if Cleveland can, they are contract friendly. Andre Drummond is on his last year of his deal. Kevin Love is nearing the end of his deal. Colin Sexton and Darius Garland do not make that much money, and they are both your best players. So I think with those 2 guys, if they can lure someone to Cleveland, I don't know if that's possible. The only one who ever got lured to Cleveland was drafted by Cleveland. So I'm not sure if they're going to be a free agent destination, but hey, money seems to be everything for a lot of players these days, and they got a lot of it to shell out.
Gordon Hayward. Yeah, they got Jared Allen. I mean, Turkish LeBron, Cedi Osman. He's just amazing. That team's great. They released Thon Maker, so they'll pay for that. But my most surprising team is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Out of all teams in the West, that's the only team who's actively not trying to win games. And they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the middle of his first All-Star campaign, just looking amazing. George Hill's looking like a future first-round pick. Mike Muscala's looking like a future first-round pick. Al Horford's getting his value back. That's how weird this team is. They also have the most improved player in the NBA, over 40% from 3, Lou Dort, while playing elite defense on the perimeter. What can't he do? I mean, this team is just so fun. It's so young. I mean, a few days ago, they had a starting lineup, and their youngest player, I believe, was Shai. He was 22. They had Maladon starting, who's 19. They've got Isaiah Roby. I mean, they just got a bunch of young guys who no one thought of. Let's get them on the team. And they look good. They're a competitive team. They're not an easy team to play. So I love Oklahoma City. I love their team. Shea's a superstar in the making. Dort is a 3-and-D wing star in the making. However you want to
I
put it.
got 250 draft picks coming up next year.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
That Dame shot's the best thing that ever happened to that team. The Westbrook-George tandem was never going anywhere. Yes, George had the big shoulder issues going on, but I think even if he's healthy, let's say that team gets out of that round, they're not winning a title. That shot was the best thing that ever happened to them. I mean, they're just going to keep flipping these guys for picks, and their young guys are just going to keep developing and getting better and better. I mean, Dort went from a guy who literally no one would be near on the perimeter to just over 40% from three. He's hit a three in every game except one. I mean, he's been looking unbelievable. I've never seen a guy just completely go from a non-factor on offense to like a formidable threat on the perimeter. So I'm really excited about OKC in their future. I think in the next 5 years, they're going to be a pretty dangerous team.
All right, thank you. I wasn't sure. So my most surprising team, and I'm gonna give a warning because they are the most boring team ever, and I don't like talking about them because they are so boring. The Utah Jazz. I think it'd be rude to leave them out. They're so boring. I'm so sorry. It's so hard to talk about them. They're the best team technically in the NBA. I guess they're the definition of depth. They have 6 guys averaging over 10 points. There's a couple teams that are doing that, and they're up there at the top. Mike Conley looks really good. He looks really good. Good for Mike Conley. I like Mike Conley.
He cut his hair. That's why.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert is being Rudy Gobert. If anyone knows what he does, which is rebound, play defense, and score dunks. It's good for him. Donovan Mitchell's cool. He's got cool shoes. Spider-Man. It's nice. Other than that, I mean, they're just playing really good basketball. And they have Jordan Clarkson, which is their X factor. And I think that's why they're winning as many games as they are. He's going to be a 6th man of the year candidate. I think he dropped 32 in their last game off the bench. Weird. But yeah, so they're a really good team, and I think we knew that, but I didn't think they were going to be this good. 10 straight games they've won, and they'll probably end up falling to the 4th seed. So go Jazz.
Yeah, it's just all Joe Ingles, really. I mean, if you watch all their games, Joe Ingles, even when he's on the bench, I mean, just his impact when he claps, it's different. He's different.
He's averaging 10 points a game.
Well,
He's the best.
Lance Spider-Man's on a mission after Shaq called him out on national TV. You know, I don't know what was up
And
with
Rudy
that,
Gobert.
I don't know. Go Jazz.
But get
First round
Biombo.
Regardless. No
Who's
matter
your
what.
most surprising team, Jackson?
This team right here. All you need to know is they got their own post on House of Highlights last night. That hasn't happened in like 20 years. The Spurs, they're boring. No one likes the Spurs. And all of a sudden we're 5th in the West. Come on.
Yeah.
We don't talk about that guy.
Number
He
2.
left.
Number
Now
2.
we have all the young guns now. Every night it's someone new, whether it's DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson, Lonnie Walker, DeMar, Aldridge, Rudy Gay, Patty Mills. 7 guys, double figures
Vassell.
every night. 7, not 6.
What about Vassell?
He's close.
He's up there.
He's about to go to the D League, I think, though, is what I read. Because they're getting G League, sorry. Because they're getting Derek White back this weekend.
Oh, if Patty Mills played every game against the Clippers, he'd win an MVP.
Patty Mills is going to be the 6th man of the year. He's making everything right now.
Oregon legend Chris Boucher?
Who?
Oregon
An
legend.
ESPN guy? Chris Bouchard? Nah. Come on. Patty Mills, bro. Nah, and Keldon Johnson's about to get most improved player, too, because that dude is just a beast.
He's different. He's real different.
He's a beast. I don't know if you saw that dunk last night. He just and they have wins over the Celtics, the Lakers, and the Clippers. So, and Philly, I think. I think they have win over Philly, too. I don't know. They look good, though. And it's exciting because, again, they've been bad for 2 years now. And we're young for the first time ever. We're athletic for the first time ever. Like, it's great. I love it. Go Spurs.
You've been bad for 2 years. Try 50.
Yeah.
But not speaking of Utah, Dara, on to the next transition.
I think that Utah doesn't have one of these, will never have one of these, but who are you guys' early MVP candidates?
Very biased guy, but I'm not going to pick these two who've been having phenomenal starts to the season. I think it's a 2-man race through the first quarter of the season between Embiid and Jokic. And based on firsthand experience, I'm going to give it to Jokic. We made a big deal about it about 5 years ago when Westbrook averaged a triple-double, but now no one really cares because Jokic is doing it. He can also shoot the ball at a very high clip. He pretty much runs point. Murray's not like a true point guard. He's just a scorer, combo guard. But Jokic is doing it all. He stepped up his game to another level. I mean, he's just so good. I totally understand the argument for Embiid. I'm not going to go against that either. I think it's 1A and 1B right now. But I'm leaning towards Jokic just because of I've seen it. I've seen it happen to my team, and I just know what he's capable of, and I got to give it to Jokic.
Dara, go ahead.
Yeah, Dara, go.
I am in between two guys, two former teammates, and I'm either in between Kevin Durant or Steph Curry. And the reasoning for that is if Brooklyn does figure this out and take off, KD's going to get all the credit for it, especially coming back from that Achilles tear, and especially from this Nets team not being really that good last year, especially because Kyrie pretty much quit on them last season. I think that if they're able to be the first seed in the East and Philly kind of falters and Embiid doesn't really finish that strong, I think that KD will be the front runner for the MVP. And if not, we can move over to the Western Conference. Stephen Curry, I mean, the load that he's carrying and that he's capable of carrying for the rest of the season to make the playoffs, I don't think there's a team Steph Curry can be on where he's going to be healthy and they can't make the playoffs. He is unlike anything that we've ever seen. And if he's able to stay healthy, that team just needs to not hit bricks every single quarter.
Give the man some help.
Yeah. And the talent they got, I mean, Oubre, Wiggins, Wiseman, Draymond Green, Stephen Curry. If you can't win with that starting lineup, I'm sorry. There's something wrong there, and definitely not the coaching. It's definitely not Steph. So I think that he's going to have to carry the load for the rest of the season. And if he's the Steph that we know, he might just end up pulling some Bradley Beal stunts and dropping 60 in losses, but somehow getting his team to that playoff spot.
I had it as a two-person race as well. One of them was Steph Curry, who was my preseason MVP pick, and he's looked really good. I just think Embiid has been a little bit better, and also his team has been playing better. They have the best record in the East right now, I think, and he's averaging, I think he's 28 and close to 12, 28 and 12 roughly. So he's through the first quarter season, he's been the player that Philly has always hoped he's been, the dominant big man who you can't guard him inside. And he's just been lighting it up this year. So I think we're just so far it's Embiid. But to Dara's point, we've seen Curry do this, what he's doing now for entire seasons. Embiid hasn't proven that yet. I don't think so. It's going to be tough for Embiid to keep on this pace. But if I had to pick right now, Embiid would be my MVP pick.
All right, I'm gonna keep it 100. The most valuable player in the league every year, but we just don't like to vote for him because it's so boring, because he should win it every year, is LeBron James. So I'm going to say it's LeBron.
Who?
Averaging 27, 7, and 7.
Year what?
I don't even know anymore. So old.
Isn't that guy an actor? I thought he's an actor.
Actor and a basketball player.
Doesn't he work for Disney?
Space Jam.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, we watch every single game, so I have some major bias there, but he's the most valuable player in the league. If the Lakers do not have LeBron James, they are down there where the Pelicans were before with AD. We would be nowhere without LeBron. The minutes with LeBron on the court are where we win games, and when AD's on the court, it's just to maintain that lead. LeBron does everything that any basketball player wishes that they could do 50 times better. The dude's shooting 40% from 3 this year.
Yeah, I think he started with this advanced age, he started to model his game after mine, and I think that's how he's been able to sustain this longevity in the NBA. But yeah, I mean, it's voters' fatigue. Jordan didn't win the MVP every year. I mean, people get tired of it. I mean,
Kobe should have won the MVP on 5
yeah,
different.
Kobe had one MVP. Like it's
How is it? MVP is honestly
best player on the best team.
probably it's the best player on the best team that year, just because that's just what's put in front of everyone's faces, what put in the people who votes faces. And honestly, the 05-06 season, Kobe averaged 35.6, just completely robbed both seasons that Nash won. I mean, I don't think Nash averaged over 20 a game in one of the
15 and 12.
Yeah. And no disrespect, Jackson, but Timmy D didn't deserve one of his MVPs over Kobe either.
How many does Duncan have?
2.
Okay. I thought
you should have like 5 though.
Duncan's the best.
Everyone forgets this guy for like 10 years averaged like 30 points a game and like 7 blocks.
Yeah, Tim Duncan's like that.
They just remember the 10 years where he like couldn't jump at all, but was still making like 15.
Tim Duncan, Michael Olowokandi. Yeah, those are all great legendary.
Marcus Camby.
Chris Kaman.
Also, if there's one thing I'm going to add about LeBron, he's playing his lowest amount of minutes in his entire career this year. It's like under 33 minutes, and we're still like the 3rd seed, and we'll probably be the 1st or 2nd seed when it all is said and done at the end of the regular season. And he's getting out to such far leads at 25-7. He's not even playing the 4th quarter. He's just sitting down. He's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, those are just the Mickey Mouse Disney minutes, LaFraud ring minutes. LeBron's the man. He's that good at basketball.
25 points in 3. Those stats you should just look at and go, that's in 3 quarters.
Well, yeah. I mean, the Lakers should be on like a semi-load managed schedule. They got a 2-month break. It's smart. Rest them as much as
I don't get all the hate for load management. Like,
yeah, it's great.
Like, rest your star players. Who cares about the regular season? Especially when you know you're going to be a top 2 seed regardless. Like, I don't get.
Only when the Braves guy does it.
Especially when you're that good, you don't really care who you play in the first round.
Yeah,
and
it's not gonna matter.
So
Dallas.
Speaking so much about LeBron, there is one thing that I wish he did, and that brings us to this day in history.
I thought you were talking about shaving his head. I think he looked really cool when he was bald. But this day in history, January 29th, 1984, first ever All-Star Saturday night took place. All you guys know, the dunk contest. For all you non-casuals out there, Larry Nance Sr. won it. And he won that over Dominique Wilkins and Dr. J. I think that's a pretty impressive lineup. And Larry Nance, how about that? Hey, his son's in the NBA. How about that?
Here's my final shout out. Thank you, baby Lakers, for being amazing at basketball.
Oh, they're all sick.
All of them are amazing.
Thank you, baby Lakers, for getting us that ring last year.
Yeah, the baby
Brandon
Clippers.
MVP, Julius Randle most improved, Jordan Clarkson 6th man of the year. Baby Lakers rule the NBA.
Lonzo Ball MVP. Wait, Ingram. Yeah, I mean the Lakers. Everyone they've drafted the past 5 years has just been a productive NBA player. I can't think of a Clippers draft pick other than Shea. They've all flamed out of the league. Hate to see it. You hate to see it. But thanks for watching, guys.
All we have for you this segment, and hopefully you enjoyed.
That's the best. Just keep watching. See you guys.